Right now, somewhere in your house, there is a clock. You don't need to look at it to know what time it is. Your body already knows. It is somewhere between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock a.m. You're awake. You have no idea why. No alarm. Nothing hurts. You weren't dreaming. You're just lying there, in the dark, staring at the ceiling, waiting to fall back into something your body has suddenly decided it doesn't want. This happens to roughly 1 in 3 adults. Doctors call it sleep maintenance insomnia. Your body has been calling it normal for 300,000 years. You just stopped noticing. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Veer at the National Institute of Mental Health ran an experiment that quietly broke a few assumptions about sleep. He took healthy adults and gave them 14 hours of darkness every night for 4 weeks. Not 14 hours of bed, 14 hours of dark. Within a few weeks, every single subject had drifted into the same pattern. They slept in 2 blocks, about 4 hours each, with a quiet waking window of 1 to 2 hours sitting in between. Not anxious, not restless. Awake, but calm. Hold that number for a second. 4 weeks. That is how long it took for modern humans, raised under fluorescent lights and alarm clocks, to revert to a sleep pattern their bodies, apparently, still knew by heart. They were not malfunctioning. They were remembering. 300,000 years can't be undone in 300. The light bulb is only about 150 years old. Tonight, somewhere in that math, your body woke up. So what is that program, and where did it come from? Start with the dark. For almost the entire span of human existence, night was not inconvenient. It was lethal. The predators that hunted your ancestors were crepuscular and nocturnal animals, leopards, hyenas, lions in older periods. Their eyes were far better suited to low light than any humans. Moving after dark meant exposure. Fire helped, but fire had to be tended. Someone had to be awake to feed it. Someone had to notice when it dropped. Your doctor has a name for what you feel at 3 a.m. Your ancestors had a fire. The pattern of sleeping in 2 blocks, with a calm interval between them, shows up almost everywhere humans were studied, before electric light reached them. In 2001, historian A. Roger E. Kirch at Virginia Tech published research drawn from over 500 historical documents spanning roughly 500 years of European life. Diaries, court records, medical texts, sermons. He found references to something people simply called first sleep and second sleep. These were not medical phrases. They were as ordinary as breakfast. The window between them had a use. People prayed during it. They visited neighbors. They had sex. They lay quietly and thought. Medieval physicians recommended this window as the best time for conception, because both partners would be rested from first sleep, but not yet groggy from second. There was an entire economy of behavior built around a phase of sleep that most modern humans have never consciously experienced. What's striking about Veer's subjects isn't the data. It's that they described the waking interval as calm, genuinely calm, in a way that surprised even Veer. Not the ceiling staring of someone who has to function at 7 a.m. Something closer to a state. Monks in the early medieval tradition documented under the word vigil. The body at rest, the mind awake, but not alarmed. But here's what most people miss. Biphasic sleep is not a historical curiosity. It is the ancestral default, and it has been measured in living humans within the past decade. In 2015, Jerome Siegel at the University of California, Los Angeles, published findings from 3 present-day hunter-gatherer populations the Hadza in Tanzania, the San in Namibia, and the Tsimane in Bolivia. None of these groups have consistent access to artificial light. His team expected to find longer sleep than the modern average. They found the opposite. These populations sleep roughly 6.5 hours a night. Less than you, probably. And clinical insomnia is essentially absent among them. The variable is not how long they sleep. It is the architecture of the darkness around it. Long, quiet evenings, no blue light, ambient noise from 20 other bodies breathing in close range. The body falls and rises inside conditions it expects. In 1900, the average American adult fell asleep around 9 p.m. By 2010, that number had drifted to roughly 11:30. 2.5 hours. Gone. Across a single century. Almost the entire shift traces back to one variable: artificial light. The candle gave you maybe an extra hour. The kerosene lamp gave you 2. The bulb gave you everything. And every hour you gained on the front end of the night, the body had to lose on the back end. The first sleep, second sleep architecture didn't fail. It got squeezed. Wehr's follow-up paper in 1993 found something else. During the natural waking window, the body releases a small surge of prolactin. Prolactin is also what nursing mothers produce during quiet bonding states. Your body, apparently, does not draw fine distinctions about what counts as a rest state. The hour you have been treating as a malfunction was historically a hormonal third room. This isn't speculation. It's in the bones. Or, in this case, in the cortisol curves, the temperature profiles, and the melatonin readings, measured across thousands of subjects over the last 3 decades. And here's where it stops being history and starts being you. Think about this. The 3 a.m. wake is not your body failing. It is your body succeeding at something it was designed to do, and finding nothing on the other end. The darkness it expects has been replaced by streetlight bleeding through the curtains. The fire that should need tending isn't there. The 20 people breathing around you have been replaced by walls, and silence, and a phone, face down on the nightstand. Now, open your eyes back to today. The racing heart in that window. The spinning thoughts. The sudden inventory of every unresolved thing in your life. That is not a disorder. That is a vigilant state that evolved to keep your ancestors alive during a vulnerable hour, now running on a stimulus that no longer exists. The program woke up. It found nothing to protect. So, it started inventing threats. That is what 3 a.m. feels like. The historical record here is almost cruel in its clarity. For centuries, people knew what that quiet window was. They had rituals for it. Prayers, small fires, conversations with whoever happened to be awake beside them. Then, the night got electrified. Darkness got pushed back by 4 hours, and the window that used to belong to rest got handed over to insomnia. Eckhart spent years trying to find evidence that consolidated 8-hour sleep had ever been the norm before electrification. He found almost none. The saddest thing about 3 a.m. isn't that you're awake. It's that you're awake, and alone with it. And for most of human history, you wouldn't have been. The fire would have been there. The sound of other people breathing would have been there. The dark would have been the same dark your body was built to sit inside, unhurried, waiting for the second sleep to come. For 300,000 years, your body slept in 2 movements, with a quiet hour somewhere in the middle. Then we invented the light bulb, and we've been calling that hour a problem ever since. You're not broken. You're old.